I cannot believe I'm saying this, but for the first time in my life, I have no idea how I want to open this show.
Oh, yeah?
No idea. How many shows do we do a week?
Well,
like
we out
4?
here.
We do 4.
That's why anytime I do solo stuff, I say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs.
That might be my favorite bit of yours.
Oh, yeah?
Cats and dogs.
I've been doing that for a long time.
The cadence of it makes me laugh. Cats and dogs.
Yeah. You know, for a while.
And then what it does is it makes me think of, like, what if a cat or a dog pressed play on this podcast? And then I'm just imagining a pet listening to your show.
For a while, I tried to get tricky with it. And I did like kitties and puppies. And one day I was like, gatos. And then I was like, I don't know the word for dog in Spanish.
I don't either.
¿Cómo se dice dog en español? Perro?
I feel like I should know that.
I think it's perro.
Perro?
Perro.
What about gringo?
Well,
that's a white person.
Well, yeah, that's us. So you like that. I've been doing that for a long time.
I don't want you to do variations. I want you to stick with cats and dogs. I think that hits the hardest.
I only do it when you're not present, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you do it? I mean, that's a music episode, though, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're here for After Schmoe. We don't do anything. We don't do anything funny on After Schmoe.
Some would say that we don't do anything special on the show at all.
We're all serious.
That's not true.
We don't do anything funny. We're only serious on the show.
Can I before we? I want to address that.
There's
quick.
no fun. There's no jokes.
I was explaining. I don't want to go fully into what I was explaining, but I was explaining to Kayla, my girlfriend, what this show was and what the live show is. Not just in tone. Do you realize for an hour and a half, all we do, it's one big joke. Like, yes, we dive deep into things, but the live show's like that too. It's always on. We literally spend an hour just shitting on people on the show. Like, for an hour, we're just poking fun.
Yeah.
And that's why I love when people come in, they're like, you were awful hard on. So, no, we're not hard on anyone.
And that's sort of what I talked about last week, how, like, I've given certain people permission
exactly
to criticize me. And the difference is I'm allowed to criticize Josh McCouga.
Yeah.
Because I've been given the platform and the permission. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going nuts and taking advantage of that, but...
I don't want to go too deep on this because some of this will overlap with some things that we'll talk about later on.
I wasn't going to say anything about McCouga this week.
I know, I'm not talking about
Actually,
McCouga.
I might, because we're going to talk about... Well, we'll get into it.
I think you sorely missed on this episode. Can you imagine, before we get into it, can you imagine Josh McCouga during that Adi Shankar interview?
Oh. Oh. What's up, everybody? Welcome to After Schmoe. My name is Ryan Snelling, and over here we got Robert Meyer Burnett. What's up, man?
You know what's funny is Robert Meyer Burnett has never acknowledged our existence once ever. So who in the studio said, Robert, put this on? And he was like, okay.
Something had to have happened. Like, he came in with his own shirt, maybe spilled some sauce on it or
Had to
something.
have been.
And it had to have been like, oh, we got this spare shirt in Ken's office.
What a strange day. It was
don't get
essentially
it.
like this weird Robert Meyer Burnett, Jaye Williams, Ryan Snelling, Sight and Sound, like celebration day.
Yeah.
Because we got comic book shopping with Robert Meyer Burnett and him wearing our t-shirt on the exact same day.
It was a pretty special week.
Very odd.
And
Very
it
bizarre.
was teased to us by Mark Fernandez.
It was.
We did not guess that it was going to be Robert Meyer Burnett on comic book
We thought
shopping.
for a second it was going to be Michael Rappaport, didn't we?
You thought it was going to be Rappaport. I thought it was just going to be Mark Fernandez.
You're the reason why I thought even more was going to be Michael Rappaport, because so we had teased about that I think that he would be an absolutely hilarious guest.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it when Mark teased that to us as who it could be. But you had mentioned you had brought up the fact that he was on Fighter and the Kid this week and that he was in L.A. And then you said, oh, my God, what if that is who it is? And I know Michael Rappaport has a very good relationship with Complex.
Yeah. I thought it was just Mark Fernandez because I thought he was just being funny. I didn't really know I was supposed to seriously like, oh, who's it going to be? Anticipate who it was going to be. But I saw Rappaport. He posted that video about the alt-left, the white supremacists. Yeah. And it looked like his backdrop was New York City. So then I went back on that. So and I guess it still could have been. I don't remember what the timeline was.
Right.
But
yeah, I think he was in L.A. at least confirmed on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But he's also sort of just doing the rounds because promoting Atypical. He's also got a book that's coming out that sounds great.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. You would love his book because it's essentially ranting about sports.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Why don't we just plug Michael Rappaport on the show?
Which is funny because I don't actually really care for Rappaport.
I know. You don't like him because he had a spat.
He had a beef with Le Batard, and I think that he was totally in the wrong. But I gave him a ton of credit because I liked him on Atypical. I thought he was great. I gave him major props in my review of it. But anyway, no, I'm not gonna act like I wouldn't appreciate Michael Rappaport on that show because I think it would be hilarious. Do you remember like a year or two ago when I tried to reach out to Robert Meyer Burnett to get him on when I was hosting Film Beef at the time? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that at all. I didn't even know who Robert Meyer Burnett was.
You definitely had heard the name.
Of course.
Because I was...
How do you forget a name? The most I knew about Robert Meyer Burnett was the fact that he was allegedly camera shy, which I can now confirm 100% is just not a thing.
Correct.
Like, at all. That's just... not only is it not a thing, it's never been a thing.
Oh, yeah, it's not
maybe
something...
when he was a child, maybe, but it's just not a thing.
Thank you. I don't think anyone has ever given me the credit I deserve on that point.
I mean, it's... not trying to twist the nail here, but the screw, but it's just not...
Twist the nail.
You know what I'm saying. Turn the knife. It's just not a thing.
No, and it was funny because I was thinking about this because obviously he was on Take 3. He had an interview with our boys over at Take 3 this past week, and I was thinking about
Bibiani going to be on Take 3 soon.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah.
He favorited my tweet the other day, Bibiani. Anyway, I remember trying to get Robert Meyer Burnett on to do a couple of movie reviews when I was hosting Film Beef, and he was the strangest person about it.
Oh yeah?
He would just email and say, "Yeah, I would love to do that." But it would never be like a confirmation. Like there was nowhere to progress from there. It was just like, "Oh, sounds great." And it's like, so is that a yes? Like,
it was just an automated response.
We're recording on Saturday. Are you gonna be there for us? Yeah, sounds good. And then it just wouldn't happen. It was so strange. And he did it multiple times, like one for Deadpool, one for Civil War.
Weird guy.
It was so weird. It was so weird. So it was funny to me that I tweeted at him saying, "Oh, thank you for repping Sight and Sound," and then got nothing.
Yeah, it is. It is hilarious. And what's funny about that
story of my life?
Let's just. I'm just going to throw this out there. We're not big enough at all to really know what it's like to have a bunch of people tweeting at you, commenting, all of those things. But I'm just thinking in my mind, if he at all has his notifications turned on, there's a weird chunk of the day where a bunch of people are just randomly just talking about him because
right after Heroes,
you and I both posted about it on Twitter, Instagram. We had people liking and retweeting and commenting about us. Like, I wonder if at all he noticed that and he just thought to himself, "Huh, that's strange." And just didn't think about it at all.
He hadn't even read the shirt, so he had no idea. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I guess I did wear the shirt.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny too because when something happens regarding us and there's like a reaction online, I notice it. Like obviously there's a big difference between us and Robert Meyer Burnett, but it's just funny to me.
So to continue talking about the GOAT, the entire point.
That's right.
For one, we might have new listeners, but
what's up? How's it going?
Most of you know,
flourishing.
Robert Meyer Burnett is fire. He is probably the best contributor that Collider Video has. Like, Robert Meyer Burnett should have his own Star Trek show.
Nah, I disagree with that.
Totally, yeah.
You know why?
Star Trek
I
is dead.
I don't care about Star Trek. I actually want to talk about that in a second.
Star Trek's dead. No, I was gonna say Robert Meyer Burnett would still work perfectly with movie talk, because he actually told me once that he made it a point to say that, you know, I'm not just about the superhero movies. He loves all movies. And so, yeah, I would love to see him contribute more so. And another thing I've noticed with Heroes, by the way, I know I was going into comic book shopping, but the thing about Heroes, because it's gone daily, and it's only been Robert Meyer Burnett and Amy Dallin, and I think Ellis got in there once. And this isn't something that I've considered with the daily shows, is that...
Where's David Griffin?
They probably... Maybe David Griffin was in on there.
Yeah.
Once or twice. But something I never considered is that because they've gone daily and because they've gone down to 25 minutes per episode, that all of the other pundits that came in and out, like Jason Inman and Ashley Victoria Robinson, all those people, they probably no longer feel the need or want to drive all the way to Collider just to be on a 25-minute episode, whereas Heroes originally went from like an hour to an hour and a half. So I never realized that the daily time slot limits the amount of pundits that they probably have, which is interesting.
Well, this is an interesting topic, and it's something that I've been fascinated with here lately. But sometimes I feel like the more regular a show is and the more seamless it is, the less you need guests. Not that guests aren't welcome to come on, but I think you and I can attribute to that 100%. Like, one thing that we pride ourselves on as content creators is making every show that we do incredibly, incredibly seamless and efficient.
And we just not need guests.
And that's what I'm going to. And that's nothing. Like, I would love to have guests on the show, but I promise you, anytime you have a guest on a Sight and Sound show or a After Schmoe, it's not going to feel like it typically does.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe because they're doing the shows every single day, they just feel comfortable 100%.
Right. Anyway, when the hell's Jedi Council going daily?
Yeah, a little strange. I've been waiting for it. It's got to come sooner rather than later. They need to capitalize on that that Star Wars. Not that Star Wars is ever really not trending, but definitely need to capitalize on it soon.
Star Wars certainly has more of an off season than superhero stuff does.
It's the only show of its kind.
Yeah,
really, where they hover around one thing. Real quick, I feel like we're moving away from Collider discussion. I do want to point out. So the private jet. We know the private jet went to the Star Trek convention. I was interested to sort of see some of the behind the scenes stuff. You know, I love me some Perry.
Yeah,
big fan.
Hey,
I subscribed to her YouTube channel.
Oh, did you really?
I did, 100%.
Did you do it on the Sight and Sound so I could watch too?
Well, no.
Well, she's going to get 2 subscribers then.
All right, there you go.
There you go, Perry. And she tweeted at us, by the way. She did. She heard that we were talking about it.
She did. Fantastic.
You're blushing now.
I am. She's just so pleasant.
She's great.
Kristian, go ahead and send this segment to her. So I got the croup.
Here's your weekly telegram. It's not Valentine, but a weekly telegram.
Teddygram?
I don't know.
Okay, anyways, so the behind the scenes, she also did her own little vlog at the Star Trek convention. And I was eager to sort of take this in. I don't give a shit about Star Trek. Unless it's got J.J. Abrams on it.
Kelvin Timeline or bust.
I just don't care. So, not sorry.
Robert Meyer Burnett.
What's going on? What's that noise?
It's thundering and lightning outside.
Is it really? All right, well, we better get this over. So, this Star Trek vlog thing, it looked so not what I would picture any convention looking like. It looked like they were at just a Star Trek gift shop more than anything. People just...
It was more calm, more reserved.
So just chilled out, and I just thought it was fascinating. Jeremy Johns
was probably, his presence was the most excitable thing there.
Exactly. Like, if Jeremy Johns is a 10 on his videos and he's like a 7 in energy level on movie talk, he might have been a 3, but he also might have been the only one alive at that convention.
Or it might have been the most calm that Jeremy Jahns has ever been in his life.
People might have been more excited to see Jeremy Jahns at the convention than the actual Star Trek stuff at the convention.
I'm going to assume that none of those people knew who he was. I guarantee it.
That's got to feel good from time to time. That's how I feel when I walk around and people don't know who I am.
So back to comic book shopping. Robert Meyer Burnett, I've been talking about it on After Schmoe, that I would love to see him either co-host or maybe just be the filler guest. There's a massive problem with this episode, Jay.
We know. We
and
saw
that's
your
that
tweets.
It wasn't long enough. I mean, it was awesome.
This is the most rewatchable comic book shopping episode because there was so much information being delivered that, like, I found myself at one point. You guys know that I'm a big music fan. Sometimes I listen to music that's so complex that I can't even comprehend what I'm listening to. That's how I felt about this comic book shopping episode. I feel like I need to rewatch it frame by frame to really get all the information that was being thrown my way, and that's why we celebrated this idea so much. My biggest question with this episode: over or under 30%, did we have anything to do with this actually being a thing? You know how we like to take credit for ideas in the Collider space.
I'm going to say we did.
So you're going to say over.
And here's the proof.
You're going to say over 30% at least.
Yeah. I think with some more time.
What percentage, though?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I think with more time, we're going to see more of these episodes. I don't think we're going to get a lot of Collider people on there. I think the show is primarily for celebrity guests, things like that.
It's meant for crossover.
I think Robert Meyer Burnett will be an outlier. So in 2 more months, we're going to be looking back and be like, yeah, I think we were able to get Robert Meyer Burnett on the show. I really do think that.
Yeah.
That's not me being sticky. I'm serious.
Last week we had Dennis on. He was crawling around in the background.
So anyway, I don't know who I have to thank, if it's Mark Fernandez, Schnepp, Kristian, whoever lit the fire there. But thank you so much.
Mark Fernandez, let us know. Do we have anything to do with it? If he just comments to Swift, no. That might be my favorite thing.
Yeah. But no, it was great. And you want to know something else?
I do like the idea of him being like, you know what? That's a great idea.
This is my last point on Robert Meyer Burnett. And I guess you can say it in Heroes or comic book shopping in general. They are so good at getting me to spend my own money on comic books. I've given Kristian credit. Like, if it wasn't for Kristian, I probably wouldn't read as much canon as I do.
Right.
But a Star Wars book only...
What's the deal with canon?
Maybe 3 times a year a Star Wars book comes out. Comics are more frequent, obviously, but hearing Robert Meyer Burnett and Schnepp passionately talk, Amy Dallin, to be fair, talk passionately about comic books, I mean, I pull out the Kindle and I go to town.
Oh, yeah? You like that?
Yeah.
Well, you should be going to your comic book shop.
I've done both.
So the thing that I want to wrap up with here in this little segment, unless you had more, but
no.
I've sort of been, we brought this up a couple weeks ago. I've sort of been touching on it here and there about this idea of Collider, exhaustion, really, with this new sort of influx of all of this content.
It's a very frequent conversation on After Schmoe.
It is, but I've been paying attention to what other people are saying, and I noticed it in Schmoeville, some people having these conversations already, and it was interesting. Now, let's be fair, some of the people in Schmoeville are massive, massive fans, and they are more likely to take in this content on an everyday, regular basis, more so than a casual fan would. But I did hear a lot of people sort of echoing what we might be worried about, just not knowing how to handle it, not knowing how to digest all of this content. And I commented on the post and just said, we just need to get used to it. We need to feel it out, because I just don't want there to be this whole conversation when, if I would have done a search on those same people going back 6 to 8 months saying, oh, I wish we had more. Just be patient. It's fine. Change is never easy.
I just don't... it's not like... I guess it's hard to explain. It just doesn't.
I'm sure they foresaw this coming.
In a month, I don't think people will still be complaining. I think it's based on change. But
it's also not for them, right? It's not specifically for the diehard fans. There are more, I've said it before, there are more people that don't know about Collider than do, and they're just playing a numbers game.
They're gathering.
Yeah.
They're trying to obtain new fans as well.
And I think the topic of the post is Collider putting out daily content, more content in order to grow. And basically my contribution was, look, whatever helps Collider grow is beneficial to the diehard fan community. Anyways, the more Collider grows, the more stuff we get.
It kind of goes back to the point, like what they're doing with their thumbnails now, how they caption what the thumbnail's about and things. They're clearly trying to catch more eyeballs with this stuff.
100%.
So anyway, let's talk about some SK Plus stuff. We both listened to Don't Be a Beardo with Ken Knapsack.
Message Beardo. Force Beardo to follow me so I could DM him.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How was that?
Well, I went to DM him just a nice and pleasant direct message on Twitter.
Are you going to reveal what you all talked about?
I'll talk about it in a second.
Because he talked about it on the show, to be fair, right?
What
Beardo talked to you about personally, he talked about on the show.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he did.
He did?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
Well, okay, let's just reveal it right now because it was on the show.
Well, so I tweeted at him. I wrote this long DM, sent it to him, and it said, this person is not following you. You cannot DM him. So then I went to public, and I said, when you try to send Beardo a nice message, but you can't. And then he just sent me back the face that was like, blank face. And I got the notification that he followed me, which is hilarious. The second he followed me back, I pasted the message into my DM and sent it to him. It was hilarious.
Okay, so anyway, about Beardo.
Yeah, so he made this comment towards the end of the show, and I actually addressed this a lot on PRE-SCHMOE, some of the comments that were going on at the end of the show, but his statement was that he was feeling a little bit self-conscious, that maybe people were losing interest in his show because more people were listening to Rundown and this and that. And my comment to him, and this is throwing no shade to anybody else on the channel, but just because you have high numbers, it's not related to the quality of the podcast. Like, I legitimately think Beardo is a fantastic interviewer, and I'm very honest about my own ability to podcast. I think I'm a great podcaster. You know what I'm not great at? I'm not great at interviewing, especially in the ways that Beardo does it. So I just wanted to reassure him that I think he does a fantastic job. They're great interviews. We
talked about this earlier in the week at dinner. Well, I was talking about Beardo and how, like, me personally, and I think you too, our dream is to make this our job.
100%.
Whether it be with Collider or not or whatever. We want to
be content creators for a living. 100%.
And it was interesting to me because I feel like we're on a lower tier, and I'm looking at Beardo, and he is in the room with people that I admire, respect.
Do you have more followers on Twitter than Beardo?
Yeah, maybe I do. But that doesn't matter to me.
It's a joke, yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's funny that it's like he doesn't realize that he's working for Schmoes Know.
Right.
And it's just interesting to me that he has this popular show and he has all the reassurance in the world because nobody's telling Beardo that he isn't a great podcaster.
100%.
Nobody's saying that he isn't able to. And so I just find it fascinating that he still doesn't feel fulfilled. And that's not a criticism. I mean, I harm myself mentally just as much with anything else, but it's like, so I understand it, but it's fascinating because from my perspective, it's like, Beardo, I kind of feel like you've got everything.
100%. And it's funny because I've never spoken to Beardo on a podcast. I did invite him to come be on After Schmoe sometime in the future, even Sight and Sound. And the thing that I think I would say to him and address to him is build his personal brand, right? Because so much of his content is about other people. And not only that, but there will come a day where he might run out of people to interview, and I'm very curious to see what a doubled up episode of Beardo looks like. But also maybe plan or structure a Don't Be a Beardo podcast with no guest. What does that look like? Like, just because you can't land a guest shouldn't, and this is a positive thing that I'm trying to propose. Just because you can't land a guest shouldn't be an excuse to not do an episode. Like, you should still be prepared to consistently put out content every single week. So that would be my only thing. The other thing that was very interesting in that conversation, and this is what I want your take on, is Ken being extremely candid on that episode about his fear of maybe not being quite as relevant on the Schmoes Know Show, and this whole idea of a new class, of a younger class coming up. And it brought to mind this whole concept of, is there a version of Schmoes Know that exists where, because Mark is now so full-time with his comedy career with Collider, Kristian as busy as ever with Collider, is there a version of Schmoes Know that could exist without Mark and Kristian, where somebody else has to carry the baton for a longer period of time?
My first thought listening to the episode, we spent so long hearing about Ken and going from job to job to job, and eventually working his security job, or security chief, I believe is the title, for 17 years. And then he recently went to Screen Junkies like 3 or 4 years ago or something, eventually made it to Collider to work with his best friends. And then hearing that turn into one day I'll be replaced, that was really kind of depressing, because it's like, this just happened for you. He spent all of that time not being happy, and it's only been a few short years that he's been there. Well, at Collider, it's been less than a year,
right?
If I remember correctly. And he's
just now getting to the point where he's really showcasing, in my opinion, what his best talents are. These new versions of the news with him, oh my God.
So it was really upsetting and depressing to hear him talk about that. But on the flip side, getting a younger crew for the Schmoes Know, does that automatically mean that the wangers just get pushed up? Like, are we going to turn on Schmoes Know in 5 years and it be hosted by Copster and Cody?
Look, here, I don't know. That's the quick answer to that question. But I just want to lay out what's facts on the table. Mark now has this huge role with Movie Talk, Collider's flagship show. Kristian also, like I said, as busy as ever. Mark also has this career as a stand-up comedian. My biggest thing with all this, and it's not even a thing, is that I don't want Schmoes Know to ever really be an afterthought. So, and to a certain extent, they've facilitated roles to people where, like, Cobster is as involved as ever and does such a fantastic job. We saw what happened when he wasn't there last week, but we know that he has a huge role in putting together the show from week to week. The Schmoes Know brand, in my opinion, should live on as long as it possibly can. And if that means, Kristian and Mark are doing the show with walkers, then that's perfectly fine. But hopefully they would groom people. They would groom people to potentially hold their seat. In the same vein of like other shows, like a Tonight Show, right? Imagine if the Tonight Show died with Johnny Carson. I mean, you've got to pass the baton, and the Schmoes Know is
since it went to Jay Leno, maybe it should have.
So the Schmoes Know Show is representative of Kristian and Mark, but can there be new people in the future?
Okay, several things going through my head, because for one, I would love to see Kristian and Mark in their senior years together. Oh my God, that'd be fantastic. And the other thing that was mentioned was Ken was talking about the new wave, talking about Joel and T and people like that. And those actually that's not where my mind went. But because again, I immediately thought the Wangers, because they're just bringing up the JV team. But he was talking about more so bringing in outsiders as replacements. And
look, we know where you're going with this.
That's not what I expected.
You're trying to put in your job application.
But what I will say is, I did quit Office Depot to go watch Harry Potter, and I believe that I've been taking... I haven't revealed this to anybody, but I'll do it right here, right now. You have never heard this? I've been taking stand-up classes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to go on stage here in the next couple weeks once I get my set together.
I think you need your money back after what happened last night.
So anyway, I think I would fit in great.
You're going to throw your name in the hat there?
Me and Brett Sheridan
Oh no!
I
Okay.
would that version of the Schmoes Know Show excites me very much.
Well, let me just say this. So there are people, maybe they're probably not listening to this, that are eligible. The Wangers crew, like we said. All I'm going to say about it is, it's going to be a while, in my opinion. I'm going to put on my Nostradamus hat. It's going to be a while before anything like that ever comes up. And with that, I think you've got to wait. You have to be patient for something like that, and you've got to be putting in the work. And I think for you and I, you know, all I'm gonna say,
smiling liars.
all I'm gonna say is, I think Kristian and Mark should be grooming people, maybe looking on the outside for a channel that is working their channel like a job, putting out so much content. I mean, maybe even a channel that already has their own Facebook group that already has 2 people on it. Maybe they're right under their nose. Maybe they do a show that's an after show. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. Maybe their names rhyme with Giant Melling and Ray Williams.
This is just...
You know what? We can't all... I don't know.
We can't all take stand-up classes.
That's right.
That's also just absurd.
Mark Ellis took a stand-up class.
Okay, good. Anyway.
Just like you.
I did. There you go. Anyway, I thought the interview was fantastic. Thankful to Ken for being on the show. Top 10 was great this week. A lot of fun stuff going on, right, as always. Do you want to take a break, and then we'll get into... we got one more thing. It doesn't have to be a thing I just want to mention. I want to tell Kristian and everyone involved with the Schmoedown, Clark, and Miss Movies, Brian Chandler as well, how exciting this whole, I'm calling it the Glow Down.
Well, that's the official name. They released the graphics. It's legitimately
Oh, really?
what
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I didn't
Glow rhymes with Schmoe. It only makes sense.
I've been at work all day. I didn't know that was a thing. Well, there you go.
Did you have a good nap?
That's another reason why I should be working.
Oh, yeah?
Because I can come up with that kind of stuff.
It's that easy, huh? Glow rhymes with Schmoe.
Anyway, I just want to say I'm really happy and proud of all of you guys for doing that. I cannot wait to watch it. I was a huge fan of that show, and it's very exciting. It makes a lot of sense. Just makes a ton of sense. I was also laughing a lot because they... what was the name? Women of Schmoedown or whatever, gloms or whatever. They came up with another term.
Gorgeous ladies of Schmoedown, gloss.
Thank you, gloss. I was laughing my ass off when Kristian brought that up because it was just yet another thing that Kristian just directly ripped from a wrestling influence. It was
of course.
I could just use that for the Schmoedown. It's no big deal.
Yeah, I love how, well, we get on the live show, Clark was like, oh yeah, we're calling it this. And then he was trying to stop her. Wait, no, I want to say it. Which is hilarious to me. Look, celebrity matches are great for the league. I know that some people, diehard Schmoedown fans might not appreciate them as much, but they have their place, right?
That's obnoxious.
I know, it is obnoxious. People need to realize that this is a great way for new people to find out about the show. See how smart I am, Kristian? You should take a clip of this and post it on your Instagram.
It's just fucking fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. Who cares if the questions are easier?
Right.
It's cool to know that certain celebrities and actors know about the Schmoedown.
One of my favorite Schmoedowns ever could probably technically be called a quote-unquote celebrity match. Sam Witwer and Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
That against, who was it, Ken and Campy, I believe. One of my favorite matches of all time. So if you don't like it, GFY.
Okay, RB3 is a problem when we talk about the live show for only 10 minutes, so let's put 11 minutes on the clock. Jay's taking a vape, even though he's supposed to be doing his stream of... oh, you're pulling it up. I see.
Look,
you were wasting time, and... oh,
look at my phone. Look.
That is a healthy... oh, my goodness.
What is Kristian's favorite thing?
That's
true. Deliver for Daddy.
It's Kristian's favorite segment that I came up with.
Do you think it... in my mind... I don't want him to confirm or deny this. I think it's his favorite segment on all SK Plus podcasts. I don't even know what other segments exist on SK Plus podcasts. Like, I listen to other SK Plus podcasts.
Well,
I don't think they have segments.
Not many, because at least our fans they don't like the bits. Every
I think they do.
Every time I try something, they hate it.
Every time you try something.
Yeah. But the stream of consciousness notes, that was my fucking idea.
It's a huge hit.
It is. You do a great job.
We could bring back pronunciations of the week.
We're talking about Schmoes Know Show, number 296, I believe. We're almost at 300.
You know what I just realized? You know what sucks every time we do this?
What, Jay?
In general? I put off making the thumbnail until the last minute, and I just realized I haven't done it. Now I'm annoyed with myself.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not easier for you to do. Let's talk about 296. I don't know if this is... what was it going into last night? Was it the summer recap, or was it the buddy cop, or whatever the hell it was?
I think
it didn't become either of them. But what was the final?
When I pulled it up on my Apple TV, it said summer movie recap, I think, or review or whatever, just talking about summer movies in general. That's what I remember.
Oh, so they were just gonna recycle what they did on Movie Talk that day. That's good.
Essentially, yeah.
Anyway, let's go to your notes. What do you got, Jay?
Is it time?
Yeah, let's do your notes here. Stream of consciousness notes.
These are your Schmoes Know live show, stream of consciousness notes, brought to you by SightSoundPod.com, which is HBO's not a big fan of. Mommy and Daddy are back. Fuck yes. I love all these cracks at Kristian. Hilarious. Oh, Ace is borrowing Perry's ripped black jeans. Those are my favorite Perry pants. Wow, Kristian cutting it straight with Adi. Clark Wolf is just to die for. I'm a big fan.
Oh,
Schmoe crush numero uno.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, it's Don't Be a Beardo with Kristian Harloff trying to get to the bottom of Ace's vampire fascination. Kristian so interested in the quality of 7-Eleven ice cream. Is that good? Is that true? That's what he said. The truth has revealed itself. I have no idea what that's in reference to. Crayons. Jump scares don't equal fun scares. Clark Wolf. What is this conversation? Collider nightmares? Interview feels more like Rogan than Schmoes. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. Hearing Brett's voice, I'll always know that voice. The voice of an angel. Okay, we're supposed to believe Makuga checked in on Brett? Yeah, right. Kristen Smith! Oh, hey, it's my co-host. All right, see you later. This note is to you, Kristian. It was so bad, I don't even know what to say. After all the shit we've given people about calling in, we failed. Now I have to quit After Schmoe to write my 2-minute set to perform when I call in. Kristian dropping some hip-hop knowledge as RB3 was talking about Scarface. Out of nowhere, he says, Rick Ross. Where did that come from? Love Mark's point on critiquing the critics. We talk about that all the time. The end of the show is amazing. Just a bunch of rambling. And I love it. And that is your Schmoes Know stream of consciousness notes brought to you by SightSoundPod.com.
All right, so I wanted you to finish your bit.
It's a long bit this week.
Yeah, but go back.
Much longer than that phone call.
Go back. Okay, go back to that. I'm confused.
So that's where we're going to start? We're going to start with the phone call?
I don't know why. Why are you upset about the phone call? What was the problem?
I mean, it speaks for itself. I'm not the only one. I put up a poll.
I saw the poll.
So there was some back and forth, some funny going back and forth, and you kept responding that you thought it was fine. So I had to prove a point.
I got onto the show. I had two great, quick first one-liners there at the top. I was on the show. I got to be on the show, finally, fulfill my dream. I got to talk to Ken. I got to talk to Clark.
Was that your first time calling in?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I got to talk to Mark and Kristian, which that's why I didn't call in last week. What was the problem? I was totally fine with what happened.
I mean, it's baffling to me. It's baffling to me that you don't understand what's going on here.
It was totally. I got a ton of people say. I got someone tweeted at me that I am their hero.
The one guy,
people were cheering me on.
The one guy, because you actually did it. I mean, it was rough. It was pretty rough. They essentially laughed you off stage.
So, I hadn't seen the show. I just called in. Being on the phone in my car, that's where I called from.
That's probably
it felt good.
That's probably mistake number one. Going in cold. You never go in dry.
Should I listen back to it?
That might be a good idea. Let's pause.
Okay, hold on.
Let's
hold on just a second. I'm
gonna
gonna
the phone call.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna check this out. Hold on.
We just listened to it, right?
Oh, that old chestnut?
We just listened to it. There is no way in hell you can possibly justify what happened.
Oh, that was all planned. Every bit of it. It was a setup.
So
Kristian and Mark.
Wait, but before we get into it, you think, after listening back to it, you think that you can at least envision why people might have a certain perspective that it wasn't the greatest.
Oh, the joke's on you, Jay. Because that entire phone call was planned. I talked to Kristian and Mark earlier in the day. They were like, "Hey, we're going to do this. What do you think?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely.
Listen.
I would love to call in." Last week, they knew I was.
How dare you? This is not the Schmoedown. This is not rigged. How you cannot tell me? You cannot tell me that was planned.
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
You're not that good of an actor.
It makes, for one, I played Jesus in the Passion of the Christ play in middle school, so I don't want to hear that. Yes.
They hang out to dry.
Think about how genius this is, Jay. For weeks, I built it up that all of the callers in Schmoeville were calling in and they were terrible and that they had to be prepared, and that I had all of this built up. The speech prepared. I was gonna hit it off with all these jokes, blah blah blah. What a better way than to call in and fall
I've got to stop you. Listen,
on my face.
Listen,
it was genius. It's genius.
I DM'd Kristian this morning. I had a question for him.
Oh, good.
About the Adi Shankar interview, and before he could even, here's how I know that you're full of shit. Before he could even tell me the answer to my Adi Shankar question, he wanted to let me know that there is no way in hell I could possibly let you off the hook and try to convince our listeners and myself that that was good in any way, shape, or form. In fact, his words was, "That was fucking awful." I don't know if that was his exact words, but that's how I'm remembering it. The main issue here is that we've been giving people shit for weeks about, if you're going to call in, you've got to come correct. You have to come to play. And then finally it happened and you dropped the ball.
I'm going to need to listen.
Do you need to listen to it one more time?
I need to listen again.
We'll listen to it one more time.
I mean, frankly, I don't really care for how I was treated when I called into the show. Because to be realistic and to be perfectly honest, Jay, I was asked, "Hey, do you want to call in?" I said, "Look, I'm going to be working all night. I'm not going to be able to watch the show live." They said, "I don't care. Just give me your number." I was like, "Okay, whatever. I will just call in." So, look. All right. So I called in. I'm in my car. I'm out in front of Kroger. I just bought some bananas because I'm worried about my blood pressure.
You like that?
And I call into the show, and it's weird because I can hear them talking on the phone, and I don't know if I could have interrupted. I don't know if I was muted or not, but I'm sitting there waiting. I had no context as to what came before it. As soon as I get in there, I kill it with those first two lines, Jay. Calling back, I got this number from a missed call. Great line. Can't believe Kristian's in the studio. Blah, blah, blah. That particular moment, they boxed me out, Jay. Right at the top, they boxed me out, and it was all about, "You're already failing," even though I had said two colloquial lines, nudging my buddies in the shoulder, Mark and Kristian, giving you a hard time. They boxed me in to, okay.
Boxed you out.
Yeah, either one. They put me in a box of,
"You're living in a box.
You're just here to ask a question and get out." And at the time, I didn't know this, but since I've gone back and watched the show, they let Brett talk to them. and say whatever they want.
Here's the thing.
Look, no, wait a minute. I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, you're no Brett.
The call in general was trash. It was not a good call.
It's not my fault.
Listen, let's just cut it. Let's just cut it out as it wasn't great. It wasn't great.
It wasn't great.
You've legitimately let our listeners down. Not only have you let our listeners down, you've let me down. You've also forced me now to have the expectations for me to pick up the pieces here and call into the show. I told Kristian via DM, I said, Kristian, if I'm going to call into the show, I have to start today. In fact, I did. I now have a list on my phone of potential phone call topics.
I don't know what he wanted from me. Did he want me to... Do you think Marvel has a villain problem? Thanks. No, don't... Ryan Snelling, the host of After Schmoe, is limited to one question.
In all seriousness,
absolutely
in
not.
all seriousness,
I deserve better than that.
In all seriousness, you called in like you were just calling in to have a good old chat.
Yeah,
I mentioned this at the top of the show. I was trying to explain to Kayla, like the Adi Shankar interview.
I did better than that.
The Adi Shankar interview was outside of the norm of what we expect on Schmoes Know. Your phone call was one step above that. It was like you called in with the energy of one step above the Adi Shankar interview.
That's not true at all. I think that there's serious collusion going on. Like I said, I had two great lines, and from that point on, Kristian was telling me that I was already falling, and then they wouldn't let me fucking talk. And then Ellis, I had no context to the show, so I was like, "Oh, did you do the T-shirts yet?" And then they talked and whatever. And then I asked because I wanted to talk to whoever was there. I wanted to say hey to Brett if he was there. So I asked who was at the table. Who later I found out it was Clark and Ken, and then Kristian's response didn't even make sense. He said that I wasn't a guest on the show that will happen. I don't even know what the hell that meant. So he basically just wouldn't let me out of. I was trying to go all of these different places, and he was limiting me to just get us a question out. And
here's what I've learned from this whole thing. You know, they say you should learn from the failures of others, and that's exactly what's happened here. I've gone into this. I've seen what can happen. I agree to a certain extent. They were being a little rough with you. I can admit that.
They boxed me out.
However, I know now that if you're going to, especially us, we have a higher expectations. We're entertainers, right? So if you're going to let the entertainers...
I would have been if they gave me the opportunity.
If you're going to let the entertainers come in, you have to command the attention of the show. They're not just going to let you off. For an hour, sometimes more, on this podcast every single week, all we do is shit on them and poke fun. So when we come onto their turf, you better come to play defense, right? You better come to play defense. They're going to box you out. You might have to throw a couple elbows. Command the attention. And it's also very difficult to follow Kristen Smith. Let me just say that.
I think that in their pre-pro meeting, they said, we're going to box him out. We're going to anticipate this. We're not going to let him out. And I believe that that's what happened.
Can I ask you a question?
Think about how it started, and it quickly declined. Think about how it started. If that first opening bit was the entire phone call, it would have been great. It would have been fine. It would have been a conversation with my friends. And
can I ask you an honest question?
Yes.
Honestly.
Honest.
Be honest with me.
It was all planned.
When all that went down, when all that was going down, did you just get frustrated and just say, to hell with this?
Yes, because...
I knew that. You know why I know? Because I know you very well.
Because I was like, I don't know what you're wanting me to do here. Right. And I said, you can hear me on the thing. I said, just talk to me. Because they just wouldn't talk. The only thing I got was, oh, you're failing.
If you could do it over again, would you have... First of all, let's just call it like it is. You were also... This has been a long day. You just gotten off work?
I got off work. I was in Kroger, bought my bananas. I was worried about my blood pressure.
Yeah, Kroger, great place to buy flannel. So you called into the show. If you could do it over again, would you have, and I don't mean this in a negative way, would you have given up so easily, or would you tapped into your inner like comedian? What are those people called? The on the fly comedians, where you have to adapt. Improv comedian. my comic classes aren't paying off.
Yeah.
Would you have tapped into that and tried to wrestle your way back? Do you feel like you gave up a little too easy?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I had no room to go anywhere.
Interesting. See,
they did
earlier
not,
on the
they
show,
did not
if
want
you
me
would
to
have
go
watched
anywhere.
the show earlier on the show, Kristian said, "I like people that can go for it. I want you to go for it. You can't go down without a fight." This is now turned into like I'm prepping you up, training for the next time.
Oh, I guess my getting my position on After Schmoe isn't going for it. I guess recording 4 podcasts a week isn't going for it.
They put you into the game. They put you into the game.
I guess having the guts to call in general isn't going for it. Please, I mean, give me a break. I think Kristian and Mark, Frank, and Ken too, because he said I played wiffle ball or some shit like that. I think they should all, frankly, be ashamed of themselves. And I think that big Tony Morrow. They wanted me to be Tony Morrow. Look, I don't even know who Tony Morrow is.
Yeah, the quarterback for the Cowboys.
Apparently, he should be in the parking lot inflating Ken's tires. But big Tony Morrow, he gets all because he has some kind of question about Wonder Woman and its Oscar potential. Please, I'm not gonna ask a cliche question.
Listen, the true crime in this, to wrap it all up, we give people shit all the time about their phone call etiquette and how they don't go for it.
Those people should also be ashamed.
And my thing is, I think people were very quick to say, "Oh, you're the one that's critical," and you stumbled as well. And to that point, I will say, objectively, they do have a fair point. It is that's fine. And I don't think that the Schmoes were ever going to make it easy for you. So here's what I'm saying. The list of phone call topics is strong. I'm ready. Now, what I won't do, there's not gonna be any collusion. I'm not gonna set up a phone call. If I'm gonna call into the show, I'm gonna call in along with everyone else.
Hey, I was invited. It wasn't my idea.
That's the other thing.
I was invited.
I'm not going to invite a setup.
What?
Here's what's going to happen. And I dare you, Kristian Harloff, I dare you to set up a game. One of those games where you invite a caller and they pick a winner and you throw them off the air. I dare you to set that up, invite a caller to pick a winner, and clear the phone lines for me. I guarantee you that game will not be played. And that's where I'm going to leave it.
Here's what I'll say. They let Brett come in and talk. They let him do whatever he wanted. He didn't have to ask a question. Kristen Smith, lover, one of my favorite Schmoevillians. She called in and was very open about the fact that she forgot the question. But Kristian let her off.
So did you,
because he was appreciative that she helped him out with a baby gift. And
she also doesn't give him shit every single week on the show.
I would have given him a gift for the baby if I had known that thing was actually a thing.
I actually didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah,
either.
We found out about it later.
We did send him shirts, though. What the hell's going on with the T-shirts?
Obvious collusion. So let's talk about the T-shirts for a minute, because I thought this was over. And in fact, they talked about the Sight and Sound T-shirts a few weeks back, and I don't understand.
It went so far to say, like, I had a theory that maybe they lost the T-shirts and that they had to buy new ones.
And I debunked that because I could tell that Robert Meyer Burnett was wearing RB3's shirt, and that was the second time we had seen someone else other than RB3 wearing that shirt. Ken wore it, and was it a Stardust reaction Ken wore it in?
It was something. They might have been shooting something for Awesome-tacular. It's just funny to me that it's just like a spare shirt they have hanging around the office. Right. I think it's hilarious.
So yesterday, I texted RB3 and was like, hey, did you ever get your shirt? Because Robert Meyer Burnett is wearing it right now on Heroes. And he said, oh, I didn't even know they came in.
I legitimately do have a rant, by the way.
Oh, no, we'll get there.
To all these people and their shirts.
And then I texted Roka and I said, look, RB3 doesn't have a shirt. Did you ever get your shirt? And he goes, no, I didn't know you sent him. So I texted Mark. I was like, hey, so RB3 and Roker are telling me that they didn't get their shirts. What happened? And I'm going to reveal it too. And this is something that's been, I put 5 shirts in an envelope. I put a piece of paper saying who they belong to, and then I wrote them individual cards. And nobody acknowledged that any of that happened. Frankly, half of the people
Right.
in the bag, that 5th shirt that's still unaccounted for is Copster's. I have no idea if Copster has his shirt. I just don't understand how Ellis messed it up so bad. It's only like he called it me bitching him out yesterday. That's how he worded it on the show. It's, for one, I didn't bitch him out.
You're just accounting for them.
For one, I'm just accounting for him because it's my money. And then the awkward part was Clark Wolf was like, where are my
All right, time out. So here's where I want to go.
Yeah, here we go.
This is actually not a rant to the people that were sent the shirts. This is a rant to everybody else. So the people that sent the shirts, let's just run this down. Mark and Kristian, obvious recipients. They are our bosses, essentially. They've helped us a lot. They've given us a great platform.
Boss, please.
RB3 uploads our stuff all the time. He does a lot of work for us. Roka has been on Sight and Sound. He has a relationship with us, even going back to the Film Beef days. Cobster, just in general, also a person very heavily involved with SK Plus stuff as well. He was sort of a pivot man between us and everybody else. That also didn't last because we just go straight to the source. Anyways, the whole thing is where people are like, well, where's my shirts? First of all, we don't just have money to throw around on T-shirts. Like, not everybody gets a T-shirt.
But think about it. Honestly, because we put out our shirts in waves. I was very willing and open to the idea of sending a new wave of shirts to
everybody
everyone
gets
else.
a shirt. You get a fur. You get a fur.
The next people would be Riley. Like, Riley is someone I consider a friend over there. He was
100%.
also on
Cal.
Film Beef. Cal as well would get a dog shirt. And then I would send one to Cody because he uploads all of our podcasts. And
something I just learned like not that long ago.
Cody puts up the show. So I definitely want to send more shirts out to people to thank them for all of, everything that they do for us. But I'm not so willing to do it anymore. Not because I don't think they deserve it, but because I'm scared to death that they just won't get them.
Right.
Because that's the most obnoxious thing I've ever heard is that Kristian said Mark had them in his car look, I sent those at the end of May. I sent those shirts at the end of May.
Yeah.
It is middle of August.
It was so bad. It was so bad that
Right
we
now.
had a exclusive shirt for the month, and by the time they opened them, that shirt was no longer available anymore. In fact, it was exclusively available for 2 months.
Yeah, that's obnoxious.
But yeah, regardless, it was funny. I even had to explain it to Kayla, my girlfriend. I was like, no, we didn't just omit people to be dicks. We sent them to the people that needed a shirt.
It became a thing. Like, I thought that they were just going to get their shirts and that was it. But then it became like a bit. It became a joke and a prolonged thing.
I'm very thankful for every time somebody wears a shirt. So apparently there's just some random shirts laying around that anybody can wear on Movie Talk anytime.
Anytime they wear it, I'll thank them. Absolutely. But anyway, let's get back to the top of the show. So I did want to talk about the fact that I went back and forth listening to it as a podcast and watching it. So again, I didn't watch the show live on YouTube. So
it is a completely different experience. It was a completely different experience.
There's a few reasons why it happened to just be a coincidence that this was the first time I'd listened to it as a podcast in a while, because they start at the top of the show talking about Kristian coming back and enjoying all of the microphones and how much better it sounds. When you compare this to the Collider feed, it's a lot different. If you listen to a Collider podcast, the audio's, I'm not saying it's drastically different, but it is. There's like
there's our podcast up top, and then there's everybody else's.
Right.
Below.
There's a slight echo. It's just not as loud. But on the Schmoes Know, it was crystal clear.
Yeah.
And
Rode makes great fucking products.
There's
really no way around it.
It was honestly the best sounding podcast
100%
that I've heard in a long time. It was, and I'm being genuine about that. It's weird, and I don't know what it was about Clark, but like when I was watching it on YouTube, and I don't know why, because it was the same audio feed, but it kind of felt like Clark wasn't as loud as everyone else. But on the podcast, she was like right up there and everybody else. And anyway, I could just basically tell that the sound was immaculate.
Guys, I love the new setup. I love the Rode mics. You have got to fix the one chair where Ken typically is. He made the joke about it being up in front of his face. Well, I'm sure we'll get to it when we talk about the Adi Shankar interview. I didn't see his face. That whole interview, it was directly in front of his face. In fact, I might even make that the thumbnail. I don't know. Maybe not. You guys will know because you'll be staring at it. But you got to fix that microphone. It was driving me crazy. Like, it was so hard to, like, make sense of that interview because it looked like Kristian was just talking to the microphone stand.
Right. It was weird. Speaking of Kristian, though, he was certainly...
He was in rare form
at the top.
Yes, he was.
He was so excited.
He was talking about moving the desk. He was talking about, I want to put this thing on rollers. Hey, let's just chill out.
He was so excited to be back.
I loved it.
I did too.
I loved it.
Oh, it was great. And
if that's what we're going to get by him not being on there for a while and just getting all this energy is crazy to me.
Because usually, I think of like when he's like that and Schmoes Know Show feels like a party, it's like when everybody's there. But not everybody was there. It was just Clark and Ken at the table the entire time, with the exception of the Adi switch out. And Ace on the couch. There was no Makuga. There was no Riley. I mean, there weren't Brett. There wasn't anyone else other than the main table.
Ace.
And so
his Perry pants.
It was and I'm comparing it to last week because last week felt like was it last week that felt like a skeletal? Last week was the show we didn't like because it was so bare bones.
Ragtag.
This was actually just as bare, but we had Kristian in the hosting seat, and it didn't feel that way at all.
Right, and I again, not to go back to last week and have like a commentary on the quality because I don't necessarily want to have that, but it is kind of funny when you get an episode with no Kristian and Mark and you compare it to an episode like this. It was just so lively, like Mark and Kristian being sort of at each other, getting these little dagger digs in, and it's just a different vibe, and it's what we come to know and love about the Schmoes. And in fact, it makes me depressed going back on our conversation about, will there not be a Kristian and Mark? Like, those are heavy, heavy shoes to fill. And you only have to watch an episode, at least the top of the show, last night to see that.
Yeah, definitely. I was happy for him to be back too. Absolutely.
It's good when mommy and daddy play together.
To talk about the mics again real quick, how fucking hilarious is it that the deal to get Ken on Don't Be a Beardo was so that Ken could have his own set of Rode mics for Knapsack Files?
It's a great idea. I just want to know. Hey, I just want to know who funded that, because I sort of...
They have a connect. It's a fan.
I hope so, because those microphones are not cheap. You get what you pay for. They sound great, and they're fucking expensive.
They said it's a fan of the show that works for Rode that got it all together.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
So,
right here. Hey, I love our setup. Our setup is fantastic.
Do you think that person listens to our show? Probably not.
Hey, if you can make it happen, I was going to say, there's some... free sight and sound shirts.
What percentage of the Schmoes Know Show viewers do you think we have?
Percentage? I have no idea. I legitimately have no idea. We're not privy to our iTunes numbers.
I've got the iTunes numbers.
You don't get them regularly.
But I've got them. I've got the average.
I don't know. I honestly, not only do I not know, but it's probably best to not know.
I just don't have their numbers, so I still don't know the percentage.
Right. Hey, road guy,
If
you can get us some shit, hit me up. Preferably hit me up.
What if the road guy is actually that kid in the background? Have they revealed his name?
Max. That's Max the Schmoe dog.
Oh, they gave him a name, or is that his real name?
Apparently, it's Max. Yeah.
Or I didn't know if they like the way Beardo and Copster. I didn't know if he was giving Cody his Upham, which I haven't heard him called that in 2 years.
Kristian liked the fact that we made it a thing. That we made who the hell is that guy?
Because Kristian brought it up. Ellis refused to
acknowledge him.
Acknowledge him. It was so strange. Anyway, I'm a little peeved.
He's just there to get his credits.
I'm a little peeved that that kid's there.
Why? Because it's not you?
Yes.
Probably would have done a better job at calling into the show.
Oh, I don't. No. I don't think so, Jay. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
He has that same funny thing of, you know how we do the joke all the time? Well, I just live right over there. When he did the behind the scenes thing, he was like, well, I'm just here to get my credits. which is fucking hilarious to me.
No, the only again, this is just a thing still, because I remember there being a welcome parade for RB3. RB3 was the new kid on the block. Everyone immediately loved RB3. He was the
Christian's still trying to get my name right.
He was the talk of the town. RB3 was.
Oh, he's great.
And
it's fantastic.
And this guy, they give him no, like, I mean, he has time. He's acknowledged now, but like they're not doing anything. I just think that's weird. It's like,
I have a friend,
but maybe it's better that he's mysterious.
I have a friend that just would not take the Schmoes Know Show or Collider serious because it's on YouTube. Like, there's no way you can have a professional, video show on YouTube. And
well, he's,
maybe he's in film school and he just doesn't take. Doesn't take it
your friend
serious.
has a point.
Does he? I don't think he does.
As I look at all my equipment to make YouTube videos.
We film on our phones.
We're eventually gonna run out of things for Ace to be a fan of. I've heard him talk about it before. He loves vampires. What does this kid not like?
I don't know.
He actually
legitimately don't know. He likes Drake. He's a big fan of Drake. Remember?
Oh yeah. I've never considered this, but I actually liked his points about like he would willingly become a vampire, and I thought maybe I would too.
That's strange. Okay.
Like, for the majority of my life, I've thought, oh, no way, vampires are scary, but it kind of felt like something I might think about.
I thought it was funny that Adi Shankar was on the show for as long as he was, and
we'll talk about it.
They didn't talk about Castlevania for most of that conversation, which is fine because it went off in some interesting and different directions, but I thought it was funny how they were like, all right, now let's talk about the Castlevania stuff. Ace, go. Like, they were like, there's a reason why you're here. It's like when you're playing a team that is very susceptible to the option and you bring in your only option quarterback to play for the game.
Yeah.
It was just funny to me.
But the thing about that too, and I think Kristian actually just misspoke during the interview, but Kristian, and I'm paraphrasing, but Kristian made a comment that Castlevania was coming up for Adi, and he was like, what other projects do we have to look forward to? But I think Kristian just misspoke. I think he knew that Castlevania's been out for several weeks.
Right.
But
I like the fact...
I thought, basically, based on that point, I thought that it was totally fine, that it was a more broad interview for
100%.
Adi, especially because Adi made sure to tell us that like, the numbers were good. The numbers were successful. He didn't need to come on there and promote Castlevania.
Of course, regardless, look, I actually applaud Kristian for sort of cutting to the chase. I would have been a little bit, you know what, it would have been fine, but I would have been a little bit weirded out by the fact that Adi Shankar has this sort of presence and this sort of reputation on Collider, well, maybe not Schmoes Know, but Collider, the Collider space, and for them to have him on the show and just not address that would have been odd. I like that he cut to the chase so quickly. It's sort of funny because I think Mark had a hard time balancing it because Mark I don't know if he loves it, but he's great at sort of, we've said it a million times, keeping the show on track.
Are we in the Adi Shankar interview?
Well, yeah, why not? It was most of the show, so we might as well get into it. I feel like Mark had a hard time balancing that conversation because Mark's the fun guy. He's the guy that keeps things moving. And the show, I had confirmation from Kristian, Adi Shankar was only supposed to be on the show. It was supposed to be a 20-minute segment. I feel like Mark was like, how am I going to segue out of this?
Yeah.
Like, where is this coming from?
And I think we all picked up on that, going back to what we said at the beginning, how it was supposed to be Buddy Cop and then it was supposed to be Summer Recap, and they obviously didn't do any of that, which is fine. I don't have a problem.
I like that. I like the show living on the fly.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all, really. Because like I joked about before, it could have just been the same recycled conversation they had about movie talk earlier that day. So the doing something different and new is not a problem to me. But I want to give Ace a ton of credit because the way he was able to articulate, I mean, it certainly helped that he was a fan of Castlevania. The way he was able to articulate his points and have that discussion with Adi, it was kind of like no one else was in the room for a moment because they were having a nice back and forth. I felt so much passion from that conversation that I don't know that we would have gotten from anyone else in that room about any other topic. Like, I really genuinely mean that.
Yeah.
Like, I think
that's a good take.
I thought Adi being there brought out so much with Ace, and it led to a great conversation, and I thought he did a great job. So I just wanted to make sure that I gave Ace some props.
Yeah, I mean, Ace, as I already mentioned, Ace had a place on this. Ace had a place on this episode.
Ace of Base.
And yeah, it's fascinating to me that Ace's conversation with Adi was such a small chunk of the conversation because of how much of this episode was taken up by this interview. But I also have to, this isn't a joke at all, I have to give Kristian a lot of credit because Kristian was living on the fly, I think. He was sort of going with the energy and the conversation. I mean, you and I have been a part of podcasts where we've let intros to our shows go on way longer than they probably should because we're assessing the quality of the conversation. And I think he did a great job in picking up on that point.
Overall, let's talk about Adi.
Let's do it.
Did you watch that episode of Heroes that he was on?
Yes. You and Luke Jaggers both made his presence known to me and had sort of given me some insight as to not only him in general, but also people's perception of him. I watched him. I don't watch movie fights. I watched him on movie fights. I watched that episode of Heroes, and I walked away from it having pretty much the same opinion, the same idea as most other people did.
Yeah.
What I will say about that, 100%, not just for me, but for everybody else, whatever opinion you have of that individual is nothing more than a single snapshot. In time, and even though they were similar to one another, it is what it is. It's one particular individual at one moment in time, and that has shaped people's opinion of this person. What I will also say is that Adi Shankar is 100% a complete different anomaly to anything in this space. Anything in the nerd culture space, Screen Junkies, Collider, Schmoes Know. He's just different. So I think people do have a point when they say that this isn't something that I'm used to seeing every day in this space.
So going into this, I was very skeptical because I'd seen both of those other shows.
Right.
And I was annoyed. And I had declared that I was just I am really a fan of most of what he's done. I mean, I haven't seen Castlevania because I can't speak on that. But everything that I've seen that he has done, I'm a fan of. I really, really respect him as a filmmaker.
Similar to my take on Max Landis.
There you go. That's a great person to compare him to. Right. Not because they're similar, but, well,
polarizing individuals.
Yeah. So I haven't been a fan of his appearances on either of those other things. So I was a little bit skeptical going in, and he was sick on Heroes. Okay, whatever. This interview here was still similar to the other two appearances.
Right.
Now, it wasn't as extreme because, I mean, there were times when Schnepp or Campia would ask him a question on Heroes, and he waited 30 minutes to reply, whereas he took a second a couple of times, but it was just kind of annoying. And maybe this is just because I have all of those other interviews in my head. Maybe I was quick on the trigger to judge him last night.
You're speaking, you are being the voice of most people, I think, right now.
But I think that there were times, and he even actually, I thought this, and then he said it about himself, that he wasn't hardly ever answering any of the questions.
Right.
And that was sort of annoying to me, that he would steer the conversation to whatever he wanted to talk about, whether it be some insider discussion he had about a famous person or that he encountered or whatever. And I was just annoyed by that.
I get that.
But the only tell that the interview might have been bad is that Ellis wanted to take it somewhere differently than where Kristian wanted to go. Now,
they were on two separate pages.
Kristian looked more engaged, and I don't know if he was genuine about it or if he was trying to hold everything in place, but Kristian's entire body was turned and facing Adi, and he was really involved, and Kristian even said, I could talk to you for hours. You could go either way, that was genuine or he was holding the show together, but I think there was something to be said that the interview lasted the hour. instead of the 20 minutes. So,
the point to take away is it was different. 100%.
Yes.
Yes. I was just going to say that. Go ahead.
Right.
Continue.
So anyway, that's something I picked up on too, is that Mark wanted it to be this thing, and Mark was cracking me up, but it felt like he was trying to go places, much like me on my phone call. He was trying to go a different place, and Kristian wouldn't let him, and because I think Kristian was enjoying the flow of it more. So
yeah, and that's a good sign of an interviewer. And again, the two biggest things that I took away from this, okay, Adi Shankar, from what you said about his maybe inability to sort of stay on the specific topic that he's given and sort of go off on tangents, the way he speaks in general, how he waits and pauses to make answers, reminds me so much, and I'm not trying to make a joke, and I'm also not comparing him to this individual's accomplishments, reminds me so much of when I watch interviews with Kanye West. I have, for most of my entire adult life, since high school, I've been a Kanye West defender, and I've also joked and said, I think I could have a job as a Kanye West interpreter, because people are often confused by interviews with that individual. But the other takeaway from this is that Kristian did a fantastic job of humanizing Adi Shankar to a certain extent, and because to not dive deeper with that whole conversation would have allowed people to still have this singular, one-sided view of him. Okay? And what Kristian did a great job of with that discussion was he, at least for me personally, allowed me to step away from it and say, I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. Do I want Adi Shankar, and do I want this style of a Schmoes Know Show from week to week? The answer to that is no. This show is something completely different than what that discussion was, but that doesn't mean that discussion, that type of discussion, can't take place from time to time.
He also asked him to be on the Schmoedown. He said, "How's your movie trivia?" So he was interested in keeping Adi and keeping him, tight within the circles.
I don't think he'd do good with the countdown. I don't know if he'd be able to answer.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you thought Matt Atchity was bad with the countdown. I don't know. You can tell me if I'm nitpicking, but
you're entitled to your opinion.
I rolled my eyes when Adi said that he didn't think Punisher Dirty Laundry needed a name, because he was like, "Oh, why does it need a name?" And I'm like, because it's a short film.
Right.
Like, I'm not convinced that he made a Punisher short film with Thomas Jane with, like, not knowing what it could be. Like, I'm not saying he predicted that it would be this big, but, like, you make something like that with the intent of people seeing it. I don't know why he didn't. Well, I think
the answer to your question is he's a relatively unconventional guy. So why would anything conventional need to have a definition? Like, it doesn't have to be anything.
He also had the most cliche advice to Ace.
What did he say?
Or no, not to Ace. Excuse me. When Ellis asked him, "What's your advice to people that want to make it into this industry?"
I think you just try hard and work.
It's like, we know. I mean,
yeah.
I would roll my eyes if anyone gave that answer, not just Adi. So I don't feel like that's a nitpick.
What do you mean the things I'm already doing?
I could have predicted that he said that advice. It's like, okay, why didn't you bring something new to the table?
To be fair, as cliche as it might be, there's a lot of people that just don't do those things. So
that's also true.
Yeah.
Are we missing out? We, at least where I live and where you live, we don't have 7-Eleven. Is there a 7-Eleven in Lexington?
Circle K is essentially the East Coast version of 7-Eleven, except they just omit the things that are great about 7-Eleven. Like, I don't think they have Slurpees. They don't have, like, Right. You know what? Do we have our own thing like that? I feel like we do. I'm just not thinking about it. Speedway?
There's a place in Frankfurt. It's a supermarket called. Did I just reveal where I live?
You've said it before. It was fine, at least on Sight and Sound.
There's a market downtown called Pick Pack, and you can go down there, and there's actually a secret deli in the back.
Oh yeah.
And they have a different meal prepared every day, and you can go in, and it's like a meal of the day.
I think my girlfriend used to live over there. My ex-girlfriend, excuse me. My ex-girlfriend used to live over there.
Yeah. Have you ever hallucinated?
So I do this weird thing sometimes when I have a really high fever where everything sounds way more intense than it is. Like if I have a high fever and I'm laying in bed and somebody says, "Hey, it's time to get up," it would sound like somebody saying, "Hey, it's time to get up right now." And that really freaks me out. Have I hallucinated before? I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know. There's an otter on your TV right now.
That last year at the, I think it was a Christmas party, I was high at your house, and I thought we were all playing catchphrase, and I thought that your dog answered one of the questions.
Oh yeah, that's funny. He's pretty good at that. Was it he or her? Which dog?
You don't remember me laughing my ass off at that?
Yeah, I just thought you were amused by the game itself. What a terrible Christmas party that was. That one was trash.
Oh, it was terrible. Do you believe for a second that Makuga checked in on Brett being sick?
No.
Me neither. The last thing I want to talk about is the potential move of the Schmoes Know Show back to its Thursday slot.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember things. I don't keep inventory of my opinions or historical events that actually happened in the realm of Schmoes Know.
Right.
That makes me arguably the best host of After Schmoe. They moved back to Wednesdays to accommodate Ellis.
Right, of course.
And his stand-up career, which is totally fair. Made a whole lot of sense. Then Kristian left, and now he's back, and now they're having trouble balancing screenings with the show. So, I guess what I'm wondering...
I just think they don't need to go to so many screenings. Look, we're on a time crunch here with movies in general. Like,
Jay, you're talking about the first YouTubers to be certified movie reviewers.
I know that. Here's the thing.
They aren't going
First of all, Kristian is like a huge champion, I think, of more movies going to streaming services anyways, because I think he just likes not having to leave his house, which I agree. If music has taught us anything, the whole thing, like, people don't get early releases with music anymore. That just doesn't happen. Everybody sees them at the exact same time. Like, it's fine. Just stop going to screenings.
That makes no sense.
Sure, they don't have to do it.
You said quit going to screenings because there's this alternate reality where movies are instantly going to streaming services. So that's not the case.
It's not an instant thing.
We're not there yet. They can't just magically stop going to screenings. That doesn't work out with...
Just don't do it.
Quit reviewing movies?
No, you can still review movies. We review movies sometimes.
Yeah, like once every 3 months.
Do you have to do it 2 days before everybody else?
I would. Hey, I would love to.
There's 50 other channels that are also doing it. What does it matter? People have their own. Look, here's the movie reviewers I like. You ready? I like Chris Stuckman and I like the Schmoes. I'm not going to anybody else. I don't give a shit what days they come out. Just who cares? Stop going to screenings. Why? Just because everybody else does it and it's some stupid industry standard? It doesn't. They don't have to go to screenings. Just buck the system.
Kristian.
No, I legitimately want to know. Does he or anybody else think that it would legitimately hurt their business if they didn't
it's basically
go to
you're saying
screens?
If they put out a review later in the week that they would get just
what
as
would
many
it change?
plays?
100%. I guarantee it would happen. In fact, I would put money on it.
He also wants to reserve his weekends away from work. So if he's away on a Friday night,
that's fine.
Going to see a movie.
Go see a movie during the day. They're cheaper.
They also do Schmoedown. They also do Schmoedown on Friday. They got to get it out of the way. And I guarantee there's a million. I'd love to hear from Kristian. Maybe Kristian will come on After Schmoe.
He would love to do that. What if he came on and we just kicked him off because this call was terrible?
I would love to do that. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I need Kristian for an entire episode. So earlier in the day, yesterday, you tweeted out that you had a dream that Ryan Snelling called into the show and forgot to plug Sight and Sound. That came true, and that's why.
I'm good at predicting things.
That's why. It was an excellent phone call. Jay Williams.
I also predicted the exact Rotten Tomatoes score of Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
That's not true. Are you going to watch it now that it's on Blu-ray?
Nope. I don't need to. I heard it wasn't very good. I heard it only got an 80 something Rotten Tomatoes.
You are so frustrating. Oh my god.
You don't need to go to screenings anymore.
Is that it? Are we done?
Look, the last thing I'll say about it, about the show.
Did we even talk about the time slot movie? Oh yeah, you said that they should just stay on Wednesday. They should ignore.
I think that they should stay on Wednesday. Not that it matters. Not that it matters to them. They would never make a decision based on us. It would be incredibly. I think, in my opinion, it would be incredibly difficult for us to do our show to do it on Thursday. That means every episode of After Schmoe would have to come out on Saturdays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look, that's
or Friday nights.
That's what I was going to bring up. Is that they talked about how they have to make sure it's okay with everyone else first. Well, here's our vote. If the show moves to Thursday night, After Schmoe is not going to be able to come out till Saturday.
Yeah.
So they need to figure out some SK Plus scheduling.
100%.
Because there's already a show that comes out on Saturday, hosted by Aaron and Frank.
Right. Look, yeah, you just don't go to screenings anymore. Or send other people to screenings. You're going to see the movies. They barely review movies together anyways anymore.
I'm so not on board with that idea.
I think it's fine. Be punk rock about it.
Anyway, I think that about does it, Jay.
I like the discussions at the end. I like the open discussions. Like them taking Twitter questions. I don't remember the last time they've really done anything like that, like to that extent. And the conversations that they had were really good.
Unless it's a specific Q&A episode, I don't think they've done it.
They were so good.
At least recently in Phase 6.
The conversations were so good that they lost track of time. Like, I love the conversation that they had about
Cinema Sins.
Cinema Sins.
And Jordan Vogt Roberts.
Cinnamon Sins. I like that discussion.
It's a hell of a blog, Cinnamon Sins.
I like the discussion about critiquing the critics.
Did you see that on Twitter? His whole spiel?
No, I heard about it from the Schmoes Know Show, my favorite movie news web show. It's great. They keep me in the know. The Schmoes know.
Jaye Williams, as Mark Ellis would say, where could the kids find you?
You can find me rebelling against movie screenings at Jaye Williams, J to the A to the Y to the E on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me on my music show on Sight and Sound. Go and check out the Sight and Sound YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and just get all kinds of wackiness and craziness. You can also find us at Sight Sound Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And join our Facebook group. Where can they find you?
Another reason why you should check out Sight and Sound is I just put up another episode of our movie bucket list show with my guest, Brianne Chandler, Miss Movies. She did a great job. I also have one with Chris Hartwell. I also have one with Mark Ellis. So go to the Sight and Sound podcast feed or YouTube channel for those shows. I don't have any more of those episodes in store.
Yeah, you can do one with me now.
I need more guests. I'm going to try to talk to some people. But if you're listening to this and you want your Collider favorite to come on and do a movie bucket list episode,
Jaye Williams.
They may or may not be named Christian Harloff. Please let them know. Tweet at them, message them, whatever you got to do. I would love to have them on the show. We're also recapping Game of Thrones. There's only 2 episodes left. If you're not watching Thrones Talk, come listen to ours.
Can I make a real quick pitch for Sight and Sound stuff and for Sight and Sound movie stuff? 100%. Like, I get it. There's a lot of places that you can check out movie stuff on the internet. A bunch of places that like to go to movie screenings. Like, it's whatever. But we make a conscious effort to provide something different than other people provide. So if you have never checked out Sight and Sound, make this week your first week to do it. In fact, make last week your first week to do it. The first 30 minutes of that podcast might be the greatest podcast we've ever done of Sight and Sound Weekly. Yeah. It's right here on SK Plus. Check it out. It could be for you.
Yeah, we also have a Facebook group.
We have a website too, sightsoundpod.com, where we're putting up rogue T-shirts that get taken down by HBO and Kanye West Merchandise Company.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WhatUpSnell. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.